some of the OMG moments for me, the first one was whenever I saw some of the fans protesting because they felt that the girls were fast. So you had some adolescent girls that got caught up with R. Kelly, and there were people that were protesting that were saying that these girls that got caught with R. Kelly were fast. My concern about that, and let me just say that I watched this from a lot of different lenses, okay? I watched this as a black woman. I watched it as a Christian. I watched it as a daughter, a sister, a friend, a mental health clinician. I watched it as someone that's in a church community. I watched it as someone who works with a spectrum of mental health disorders, a spectrum of behaviors, a spectrum of people that have different challenges. So I have worked with people that have been sexually abused. I have worked with people that have been in domestic violence. I have worked with people who have mental illnesses that range anywhere from major depressive disorder to psychosis. So I watched it from a lot of different lenses, and I just thought it was very concerning that grown women, adults, would look at children who were being manipulated and say they were fast. The first thing that I've noticed about any child that displays sexually inappropriate behavior, no kid just wakes up and decides they want to be sexually active. In most cases, they've been exposed to it in some way or another. Regardless of what the situation was, why those girls were involved with R. Kelly, regardless of what it was, there was an adult that was taking advantage of children. So just myself personally, when I look back at my life, I could think of some things that I've done as an adolescent that it may not have been me being with adult men or, being what some of these girls may have been doing. But when I look back at my, my middle school, high school days, I'm like, that was pretty dumb. Why? Because I was an adolescent. And adolescents do things that they may regret later. That's why they need adults, caregivers, parents. That's why they need people to guide them in the right direction. So to hear people, even in society, not just on television, but just to encounter people in the community say that the girls shouldn't be so fast or calling them fast without really taking time to ponder or consider the stance that's going on, the people that are involved, there's something wrong with that. Another OMG moment for me was whenever his brother was saying that people have preferences. Some people like older women, some people like younger women. And that may very well be true. But whenever you're talking about someone who is sexually attracted to children, that is not a preference. That's pedophilia. And one of the things that we have to get better with doing in society is stop using semantics, stop using language to soften things and try to make things not seem what it is. If you're sexually attracted to children, that's not a preference, that's not a fetish, it's pedophilia. And it should not be tolerated to sit back and hear people that was a part of his staff or people that were a part of his staff say things like, oh yeah, he had a lot of videos because I've seen some of them, then you're in the same boat as him. No, you may not have recorded them, but if you sat back and watched them and you knew that those children were minors, then there's really no difference. We as adults, we as community members, we as members of society, we have to do a better job with protecting children. I know someone else was mentioning where were the parents? One of the girls actually said her mom went to work. Her mom thought she was at school. And she was standing outside the trial because she was a fan of R. Kelly. And that was actually how she got sucked into it. It's not, there are some parents, please, please, please monitor your children. But there are some parents that monitor their children. There are some parents that take up time with their children. There are some parents that are doing the best that they can to parent, their kids. It's not necessarily that their parents weren't doing what they were supposed to be doing. And I don't feel that it's right to just sit back and watch a documentary or sit back and watch the news and automatically assume that, a kid's parents are at fault. That's not necessarily the case. I feel like the situation where some people, I've seen a lot of posts where people are saying things like, They may not want to stop supporting R. Kelly. They may not want to stop listening to his music. He made hits. He's a musical genius, whatever. That's not my focus. I can't add or take away from what he's done to the music industry. It's really not my concern. And it's not even just bashing him. It's just the fact that we've had this documentary. We've had the Subway guy, whatever his name was. We've had the gymnast that was the gymnast coach that was coaching girls for the Olympics. You've had all these cases of sexual abuse taking place with these younger girls. And although there are people that are standing up to speak out about it, there's not much that's being done. And it sends a very poor message. It sends a very poor message for people who have been sexually battered, sexually abused. It sends a poor message to them to have the courage to speak out whenever they have to hear feedback like, what did she do? She's probably lying. They're just being fast. That stuff is not, it's not relevant. It's not relevant. We as blacks, and I say as blacks because that's a part of my ethnicity, that's a part of my culture, come from a background where you suffer in silence. And now young generations are not doing that anymore. So if people have the courage to speak up and talk about the abuse, it's a lot of things that we could do to help seek solace. It's a lot of people that have been abused or, whatever the situation was during the whole R. Kelly documentary. People that are still in the house, people that may have been in the house. Some people we may not even know were involved at all. They're broken, damaged. You heard a lot of women say that, he said that he was the only person that loved them. Or, just doing things to break their spirit. So it's not necessarily that you're being held captive with chains or locks on the doors or anything like that. But once a person has gotten into your mind and controls your soul, that's not easy to depart from. It's not easy to let go of. And I just feel like as a woman, we can do much better jobs with showing love to other women. We could do much better jobs with showing love as members of community, as a people. It's humanity. Teachers, mental health clinicians, law enforcement, adults in general. If we see someone, like particularly adolescents going through stages, if we see they have issues with self-esteem, take some time out to try to help them invest in themselves. Bring the good things out about them. Because if you don't, there's going to be someone that's lurking that wants to use those weaknesses, use those episodes of poor self-esteem to tear people down, manipulate them, and control them. It was something else that I wanted to point out is that every person that's involved, viewers, people that were part of the documentary, everyone in this world has a soul. And everyone is valuable to God. And one of the lenses that I look through, which is what I said earlier as a believer, is that R. Kelly also has a soul. So the same way that we as believers are sitting back like, oh, yeah, we know we need to pray for these girls or whatever. Also pray for R. Kelly because God doesn't want him to perish any more than anyone else. That's what his word says. He wills that none would perish. But it doesn't take away from the fact that a lot of people have been hurt in the midst of this. And I just wish that we as people, regardless of race or any other background, could just really love other people out of their pain. Just seeing that people are hurting and being willing to show love to someone else opposed to putting up barriers to keep us separated from other people. It's important. It's necessary. If you see someone that looks downcast with a sad affect, someone that looks like they're struggling with self-esteem issues, someone that has history of struggling with depression, it doesn't cost you anything to show that person love. You never know what somebody else is going through. So that's my spiel. That's my take on it. We should love God. We should love each other. And it should not just be through social media or not just through words, but really just genuine love and having compassion for other people, and just, not let this continue to be another documentary where someone else comes out down the road, or another episode on the news, or another moment on the news where other people are coming out about being abused. We should become active now to really think about how we would feel if it were us, how we would want people to advocate for us, how we would want people to reach out for us, towards us. Think about it from that perspective. Think about it how it would be if it was your mom, your sister, your cousin, your best friend, someone you knew, someone that was dear to you, and respond accordingly. I feel just personally as a woman, as a clinician, as someone who takes notice of things, that it's just really time out for just seeing things and not doing anything other than that, because people are really like perishing by the wayside. It's a lot of people that are being hurt because of other people's unwillingness to speak up for them, and it's time's out for that. That's my spill. That's my vent.